Welcome to the recap of Miss Grand International 2023. Thank you so much for clicking the episode. If you like it, please consider subscribing and also supporting the channel by hitting that super thanks button or joining memberships for exclusive content like the extended version of this episode. Can we please talk about, first of all, before the show even started, this video footage of the contestants? They looked gorgeous, every single one of them. This actually reminded me of the elevator video that Miss Universe Thailand did several years ago, where the ladies were all in red and they all emerged from the elevator and it was like the announcement of contestants. It was like a music video and it was just everything, and I can't forget it. I loved it. It's the same kind of vibe and I love this. Then, if that weren't enough, we go to the stage and they give us a theatrical production. This right here is what I need to see more of in pageantry, okay? I need all of this, and you can even give me more if you can. Love that they incorporate the reigning queen and that she always looks a little bit different from everybody else. She had a little skirt reveal going on. I'm a fan of it. She was also singing, okay? I know, I'm sure it's all pre-recorded, not live, whatever, but who cares? The effort that goes into this, it was fantastic. Like I said, theatrical. Then let's talk about how they even made the contestants little drummers, right? And I love that that was added in. The drums had lights on them. I don't think they were drumming at all. I don't care. Don't ruin my day. Don't tell me the secrets behind the show. I just loved it. And then there was such a smooth transition into the intros. And for the intros, the ladies all got this nice extra like runway type of walk out to the stage. All of it. I approve. Stamp of approval. Then they don't make us wait till the end and they announce awards throughout the show, beginning with Best National Costume. Interestingly enough though, they had 3 winners and they were Japan, Nigeria, and Vietnam. And you know what? That's one thing about Grand that they do. They're like, you know what? If we have a tie, let's give it to everyone. Then they announced the final 2 for the Power of Her Country fan vote. And that fan vote winner would advance into the top 20. The top 2 were Vietnam and Myanmar. Myanmar won that fan vote. But honestly, she deserved that placement even without it. She was fantastic. Now they announced the top 20 and I was quite a bit surprised, okay? Honestly, you know what I feel like? I feel like I need to report a crime. Because how was Costa Rica not in the top 20? Not in the top 20. Also, shocks Canada. I loved her. Philippines? Russia? What happened? The show must go on, so let's talk about swim. Angola, I was super excited for, and I loved her performances in prelims. The only thing that kept her out of my top 20 for gown was that her gown just reminded me so much of like Arbany, with just the black, the little spiky things, and it just seemed kind of Arbany inspired. And I was like, ooh, she doesn't have a second gown. I don't know how this is going to go over, because I don't think that any international pageant wants to crown a winner that looks similar to another pageant. Regardless though, she made it in this top 20 and delivered a fantastic performance. Colombia, loved the opening wink. I knew that she was gonna be here. You knew that she was gonna be here if you watched prelims. She was lively and she looked like she was having so much fun. This was a great performance. Czech Republic. So she is gorgeous. And for me, I was like, put her in a top 5. But I will say about this swim performance, this performance was not quite as creative as her preliminary performance, and I do feel like that hurt her. Also, the angles and the timing with the camera, it just was not working for her advantage, unfortunately. And I was shocked when I was like, how did she not get further? But then I saw this performance and I was like, okay, it's a tough cut, but this makes sense. Dominican Republic. So she was on my edge during prelims, not personally, but just because I was like, there's so many amazing women here. I was like, I don't know if she's gonna make it. And she made it. Oh my gosh, so excited. And I will say, I think that this swim performance was stronger than her preliminary swim performance. India, gosh, I feel like they need a grand winner, right? Like you'll get it. You'll get it. Their title holders are always stunning at Grand, at Supra, at Universe. It's just everywhere, okay? But I love the wind in the hair that was going on here. I do feel like she needed to just give a little more at the end of the runway, a little bit more energy, a little just more working it. Indonesia, okay, she was bringing us more of those Grand vibes. She started in a squat. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, bring something. I just love her. Her earrings were fantastic as well, side note. But she's so sexy, just like in prelims, okay? And that really works for Grand. And I just love her for Grand. She's stunning. Laos. Oh girl, that opening facial, yes. She was one of my favorite for prelims, still one of my favorites here. Great smile, but I do feel like she needed a different pose at the end of the runway. It just didn't look purposeful. And you really gotta be sure, especially for finals. Myanmar, love her little opening kiss, just, you know, waiting for her. Loved her ending pose here, loved her at prelims. I think she nailed her ending pose as well. Just solid performance. Netherlands, very excited for her. I was loving her look during prelims, but I just didn't know how it would score. And she just did fantastic. So she did a triple turn, also quite grand. But the one thing I would say about the styling is that I didn't feel like her hair was all straightened out like it was in prelims. I loved that look of the straight hair, but it looked like whoever was doing it like missed quite a few pieces this time. Nigeria for me was a top performer. Honestly, I could have seen her in a top 5. I loved her. I felt like she was grand. She nailed her poses, her facials. She brought the right amount of energy. One of my main favorites. Peru to me looked even better during finals than she did in prelims here. Really, really great changes here with the makeup. She had a strong, clean spin turn. I will say for prelims, her gown was on my edge. Like, I thought it was super fun. I just didn't know how everybody would take it. It was a lot. It reminded me of like a parrot. I don't know the name of those parrots. You know what I mean? The ones, the macaw. Macaw? Is that right? I don't know, but for finals, she had clean posing, very grand pose at the end as well, and so I loved it. She was definitely advancing for me at that point. Thailand added contacts. Oh my goodness. So she was also very grand in her walk down the stairs. She had really fun energy here and a strong center pose. Loved just like that hair flip at the end of the runway and that eye contact at the very end. Did it for me. Like, that was the moment I was like, she needs to keep moving on. United States, oh my gosh, she's just so hot. She's so hot. I can't even. So she didn't even look down when she walked down those stairs. Also, just thought about that. She gave us just moments, like arm movements, all of that, the hair flip. She's living, that's all I could say. Great spin turn, great performance, just really working for the title, and I love it, but it was also well done. It wasn't like she was trying too hard, it was that she was performing. Vietnam, fun little arm thing she did before her spin turn, but great energy at the end of the runway, and she did the little grand sign, she worked that in there, so, and had a nice little wink. She kept her energy up for finals, but I do feel like the poses could have just been a little bit more precise, a little cleaner. Then they announced the winner of Best in Swim, and that went to Dominican Republic. Then they had the most popular vote winner, and they talked about that, and she would go on to the top 10, and that was Myanmar. Now, for this competition, the top 10 moves on to a speech competition, and they dressed them in the traditional ao dai, which made so much sense. They were in Vietnam. I loved that. They all looked so beautiful. So that was just like a nice little bonus of the pageant being held in Vietnam. I'm going to sum up what they said in their speeches, and if you don't know, the theme of Miss Grand International is ending the war and violence, and that applies to anywhere in the world. So every year the speeches are typically about war and making the world a better place. Angola said, "Our world is crying. We find ourselves at a critical time where many are facing unimaginable struggles. We have the opportunities to share about the suffering of people in war-torn nations. Let's respect, love, and honor each other." Now, I think that this was all very, very well said. She just needed to have the audience behind her. I think that if the audience would have cheered and been like, yeah, it could have definitely swayed judges and placements, because frankly, I think she did an excellent job presenting this speech. Colombia said, "I have lived wars in my country and in my own life. I feel your pain, Israel and Palestine, all victims, just humans. There is hope. There are nations who have achieved peaceful agreements, rebuilding with love." And then she waved both flags. So interesting that she thought about that and brought that on stage. I loved her line about all victims, just humans. And isn't that the truth, right, friends? It's just what's going on right now in the world is it's tragic. Makes me emotional. Dominican Republic had shared that as a queen that she passionately advocates for harmony and peace, and she believes we are better than this. And then she used the phrase "to be able to." and she used it several times, and then overall I thought her speech in comparison to the others seemed quite a bit short. Indonesia shared that she came from a broken family and that the recent war is heartbreaking. It made her think of children like herself. She said, war will destroy everything. Let's forgive and start a dialogue so no more children grow up broken. Let's stop the war and violence. And I love her mention of her upbringing as a child and how children growing up in this type of climate and when there's wars happening and the stress of all of that, like these kids eventually grow up to be adults, but we can make such a better world for them if we resolved our own issues as adults while these kids are still kids. So yes, just so many great messages here. Myanmar said, ceasefire in every conflict today. War and violence are never the answer. They only affect the innocent. I ask you to take action. No more empty promises. Peace is not a distant dream. It's a choice we can make today. Very, very well said. And on top of it, she spoke very passionately, got quite worked up in this speech. So I feel like that the delivery counts, and it worked for her. Netherlands said, we only read about war, but for 110 million, it's reality. People in Israel and Palestine are running for their lives. Can you imagine? Enough is enough. People learn to hate, so start teaching love so that kids will only know war from the history books. I was like, wow, this was really well said. And honestly, it was so well said that it felt a little short and I just wanted her to keep going. Peru said, we are here for an instant. What we do must matter. I come as one. So see a little reference to Miss Grand International, the one and only. I come as one, but stand for thousands affected by the war. We can spread peace through our daily actions. I'm here to raise my voice for the people on both sides. It only destroys homes and takes innocent lives, and it's never the solution. Let's put our hand and our heart up as a symbol of our peace and solidarity for them. We are one world. And I was like, this is very much like the Miss Grand International messaging. So clearly moving on. Thailand said, what's the point of war? Happiness, pride, or money? I hope that leaders can hear my voice and learn from the past. People want to have a good life, and I hope there will be no more violence or war in this world. Great, but I didn't feel like there was anything here that was specific to her, like anything unique, and because of that I was like, ooh, I just don't think it's enough. Not enough to move forward. USA said, peace is not just the absence of war. There's a long history of division. We need to remember the mothers, fathers, the children, the dreams of lives, the joy and the happiness. We can't ignore the tears of both sides. We need to be the one and only to form a white flag so people will have a peaceful home. I think she made a great point by saying that peace is not just the absence of war. And I was like, ooh, yeah, she's right. Because even if we're not actively fighting, there are still those divisions and that's still affecting everyone. And that is still leading to conflict eventually. Vietnam was talking about children and said, they took my childhood dream. She says she feels heartbroken that thousands die and children can't go to school. They are displaced. She says, I'm standing here and I want my voice to be heard. Let's let children know peace. And I'm like, oh, you know, anytime you're going to talk about kids, it's going to win some people over. All right, it's just what it is. Then we got to see their evening gowns for finals. So first of all, Angola, great gown change. Oh my gosh, absolutely stunning. So this, by the way, gown, it's just like a really simple, fast walk. It's not like the normal evening gown competition. Colombia, I felt like she just needed another gown. It was a beautiful gown. It was a gorgeous gown. But there's something about these like orange and yellow gowns that never seems to do very well internationally. I keep seeing contestants trying to do it, like that ombre with it, and it's never really done well, although they are stunning. Dominican Republic, I have to say, I loved this walkout and she wowed me. Indonesia, somebody needed to brush out some of her hair. Oh my goodness, it's finals. I was like, oh, let her walk out. But the gown, I realized what it reminded me of. Esmeralda from the Hunchback of Notre Dame, right? Doesn't that look like that? Ah, love that. It's so nostalgic for me. Myanmar, I was bummed out. I really preferred her preliminary gown and the look of it and just the hair. I needed her hair back at least. I was like, why wasn't her hair pulled back? Netherlands, I think she also changed her eyeshadow with this gown, but she looked really, really great. I loved it. I was like, oh, For me, that could have been a top 5 performance. Peru, it was the look in her eyes that just made me emotional. Great gown change here too for finals. Just lovely, very strategic, very well done. Thailand, I love this look too. It's such a grand style of gown. She looked incredible. USA, beautiful gown change. The top of it was like a starburst. I will say though, I don't think that these colors do much for her. Yeah, like they weren't like wow in the colors. It's safe and it looks beautiful on stage for sure, but I feel like she could have gone with a color. Vietnam, I just wanted her to relax the arms a little bit, but absolutely gorgeous styling on her. Loved this. Also, I want to mention that when they announced who the top 5 were, Peru and USA made me emotional. Like their reaction to being announced was so sweet and sincere. And USA, I just know she's had such a journey, and it was like she was, you know, holding back those tears. I was right there with her. And then Myanmar just looked absolutely shocked that she was in that top 5. So I love the great reactions. Then we had a former Miss Grand International Thailand sing to the ladies in a gorgeous gown. She sang, the lines in the song said, "They say we're born to die, but I was born to be alive." Just like the hashtag of the pageant this year, hashtag Alive Vietnam. Y'all are really something on production. You really are. You're not disappointing. And in fact, you're blowing my mind. Now, all of the ladies got a very difficult final onstage answer. And there are a lot of polarizing opinions about what's going on between Israel and Palestine right now. So what I'm asking you before I read this question is in the comments, let's not make this episode or this pageant an issue of the conflict between Israel and Palestine, and let's be respectful of one another. So here's the question. They said, with the ongoing situations between Israel and Hamas from Gaza for the past 18 days, and there's already 8,000 civilians who lost their lives, if you have a chance to speak to one of the leaders, which one would you choose to speak to, and what would you say to them in order to improve the situation? What would you say? What would you say? It's difficult. Colombia said, I would first love to ask the leader of Israel to recognize Palestine as an official state. Everyone deserves to be recognized. Then I would talk to the leader of Hamas because I do not think it is civilians or the people of Israel or Palestine. It is terrorists that are doing horrible things to humanity, to this territory. I also feel like a distinction should be made. She said that she would speak to the leader of Hamas, and Hamas has been declared a terrorist organization by the United States and many countries in the European Union since 1997. That also made the wording of this question very interesting because they were asking not about Palestine, but they were asking the contestants about Hamas. If you listen to her answer, I'm not sure if she understood or was overlooking the difference between Palestine versus Hamas. It is not Israel or Palestine. We cannot continue to divide people. I would like to ask the leader of Hamas, what is in his heart? What is in his mind? What happened to him? Why is he so cruel? Because I studied humanitarian engineering and I'm passionate about psychology. I do believe everything has a reason to be, and I would like to hear him first. And please tell him to stop the war. I would also like to ask everyone here to take a minute of silence for all the victims of Israel and Palestine because both have been affected through the years. Honestly, well done to all of these contestants with their answers because there's no easy answer, and it's just really, really difficult, especially when millions of people are watching you and your dreams are on the line, to answer any questions like this. Peru said, nowadays we live in constant conflicts and sadly war is something that is so difficult to stop. So I would like to talk to Israel's president and ask him to take care of all of his nation because no one deserves to live in hurt. There are lots of people dying day by day and all the news is terrible. So if we don't change our minds and we don't change our, and then I missed this word that she said, I'm not exactly sure, but she continued to say, we can never have a good society. We can never be a great society. So please release the hostages. USA said, I would love to have both leaders in one room. I'd ask them why and if they can settle it on their own without hurting innocent lives. But since I do have to choose one leader, I would choose the leader of Palestine. There is no reason any human being should be living in almost a Holocaust, controlled and not enough water. As humans, we need to love with compassion, and as a leader, I would educate him on that term. A leader doesn't hurt. A leader doesn't use violence as his voice. A leader loves, respects, and honors his people. I think it was really smart of her here to talk about being a leader, referring to her, like using this answer to refer to herself as a leader was smart. Myanmar said, "The war between Israel and Palestine is really huge. If I had a chance to speak to one president, I would love to talk to Israel because the war is dependent on Israel and Palestine. The people of both Israel and Palestine are experiencing fear, uncertainty, and losing innocent lives. I would love to tell Israel and both Palestine to stop the war, and I would like to say to the United Nations to take actions and find a peaceful solution, and together we can create a middle ground to coexist. We are humans. We shouldn't do crimes against humanity. So I would love to say that we should make a middle ground to coexist together. Thank you." I thought this was an excellent answer, okay? So yes, she was kind of like addressing the issue, but then she actually offered up a third solution where she's like, let's talk to the United Nations and let's ask them like what is within their power to do to start making these countries play nice. And I was like, that's smart. That's really smart. So I liked it. Vietnam said, "Dear Hamas, my heart goes out to the children because children are the future of the world, and I am also the ambassador of children in my country because the children in my country love peace too, and we are human. We are equal. No one deserves to suffer the pains of war, and everyone deserves to live in peace. Let's stop hurting each other, stop the war and violence." So this is interesting. So she just instead chose for the answer to directly address the leader of Hamas. I mean, that's one way to do it. Now they announced Best in Evening Gown, and that was Russia. Honestly, rightfully so. She was fabulous. They also have an award for volunteerism, and that is the Grand Voice Award, and this went to Ghana. Then something I thought was really cute and special is they recognize all the ladies that didn't move on to the top 5, and they just call them all the 5th runner-up. So they crowned all of them. Very sweet moment. Now here are our results. 4th runner-up, Vietnam. 3rd runner-up, USA. And then they went to a commercial break, and I was like, why? Why? 2nd runner-up, Colombia. 1st runner-up, Myanmar. And winner, Peru. So I think that the placements made a lot of sense for the finals. Now, I do, though, think that with Myanmar's final answer, that she was so toe-to-toe with Peru that it could have gone either way when it came down to the top 2. So very impressed by all of these ladies, and honestly just very impressed by this stage production of this whole show, okay? Just absolutely incredible, and they're really forcing other pageants to step it up. Because if they're putting on these types of productions, it's only so long before contestants are just like all gonna start flocking to Grand because they want to be a part of a production like that. But I think that the main draw and the reason Universe still has such prestige is the prize package. I think Miss Universe gets $250,000 US a year, and I believe Grand only gets reportedly somewhere between 40 to 60 grand. So it's like it's a lot of work, and that's a different price point. And so I understand the draw of Miss Universe. Thank you for tuning into this episode and for your patience. I greatly appreciate it. I really hope that you'll come back for lots more episodes. But in the meantime, check out these other recent ones. Please check out my coverage of Miss Universe as well. And then let me know in the comments what episodes you would like to see next.